So my name is Andrew Kirby. I'm a pharmacist with a PhD in oxidative stress biochemistry. I did postdoctoral research in enzyme inhibition, in cancer chemotherapy, and in artificial antibodies. And I've been interested, well, since my PhD, in the fundamental biology of aging, although I've been working mainly in skin. I've been practicing Taoist Tai Chi for 31 years. So this comes from a conversation we were having in a class where we were talking about Tai Chiers that they seem to be doing really well compared to peers of their age. And the question really is, why is that? So I heard a great quote from an academic in the UK, and he said, people are looking for an anti-aging pill. Well, there is an anti-aging pill. It's called exercise. So is that true? Well, many long-term studies now prove that exercise has a really positive effect on lifespan and health span, and the benefits can be really long-lasting. So even if you did a lot of exercise when you were younger, those benefits can last a lifetime. With Tai Chi, we know that there have been a lot of studies now, maybe 500, and there are a variety of proven health improvements. So in diverse conditions like COPD, fall prevention, osteoarthritis, cognitive function, depression, cardiac and stroke rehab, fibromyalgia. But we also know that anyone who's been doing Tai Chi for a while will have seen a really wide variety of benefits reported by members. So how can it be that one thing can have such a wide variety of effects on different conditions, different organ systems? I thought I'd share some insights from the new biology of aging, sometimes called biogerontology. Let's go back a bit though, and let's give an unconventional definition of Taoist Tai Chi. So of course you have the set and 108 moves and so on. But if you look at them, what you really see is a kind of slow cyclic mechanical loading or stretching, and furthermore an attempt to bring those forces to as much of the body simultaneously as possible. How do we do that? Well, through control of timing and through spiral motions, we create a sort of chain of connection through the body, so that even pushing out, we start to have connections that go deep inside. And our instruction aims to try to get us to feel these connections and to try to apply these cyclic forces, so everywhere. So we try to use as many muscles as possible at the same time, and we try to reach as many tissues as we can. So having said that, let's go back a little bit to cells and the biology of aging. So what size of thing are we talking about? Well, if you imagine your finger and you zoom in 10 times, you'll see the fingerprints very, very close, like a sort of canyon. If you zoom in another 10 times, you'll start to see the cells. And we have about 30 trillion of these cells that make up our body and brain and so on. So any definition of what aging is really has to be based around these cells. So what can we see? Well, we can define aging as a progressive accumulation of damaged proteins and structures within the cell. Now, we know that some animals live a lot longer than others. Surprisingly, a mouse might live 2 years, but a bat of the same size might live over 40 years. In fact, we don't really know how long they live because we haven't been watching them that long. And some animals even seem perhaps to be practically immortal. Why is that? Well, it seems that that some animals have better repair mechanisms in their cells than others. So we've said that the aging and exercise could be linked. So does exercise affect these repair mechanisms? Well, the answer is yes, they do. So exercise is a sort of stress on the body. And one aspect of that stress is sudden demand for energy, for a lot more energy than your body would normally be using. So your body has to cope with this sudden demand, and it also has to prepare for the future. I mean, this might happen again. So there are sensors within the cell that detect this increased demand, and they start to go to work. And these sensors, they include things like AMP kinase and mTOR. These pathways are really closely linked to cellular repair, longevity, and healthy aging. There's a lot of overlap here with the story of fasting in health improvement that many people might be familiar with. It's very popular at the moment. So another interesting pathway is known as autophagy. So this is a really essential part of the story of cellular aging. Autophagy means self-eating, so autophagy. And it's the cell's way of breaking up and then recycling damaged elements and preparing it for future stresses. It's a sort of housekeeping. It's like tidying up and taking out the trash. So treatments or interventions that decrease autophagy tend to cause premature aging, and treatments that extend lifespan tend to require autophagy to work. And it appears that, at least acutely, exercise increases autophagy in a range of tissues, not just the muscle itself that's being exercised. So what we're trying to do is get as many muscle groups as possible working in tandem in Taoist Tai Chi, and that's like an effective way of activating these pathways to take the trash out in our cells. But what about this other component I mentioned, apart from muscular work, cyclic stretching or loading? Well, if we go back to cells, we probably remember from school a sort of bag with a few blobs in it and water. So these blobs then floating around in this watery soup. But it's not really like that because cells have a lot of internal structure. So you can imagine ropes crisscrossing the cell, keeping all the bits in place, and allowing communication and transport along these ropes. But the ropes themselves are sensitive to pressures put on the cell. And the cells are also connected both to other cells and also to the matrix that they're living in. The junctions between cells are also sensitive to pressures. So a cell is able to, it's very important that a cell is able to feel these mechanical pressures and respond to them. So do these mechanical forces affect these longevity pathways that I've already talked about? It turns out that yes, for a range of cell types, compression forces or cyclic stretching even can affect these housekeeping mechanisms like autophagy. This is really at the edge of science right now, because it was only in 2016 that the Nobel Prize was awarded for research in autophagy. In Taoist Tai Chi, what we want to try and do is get movement everywhere. So as we get older, we stiffen up, and even everyday movements don't penetrate as deeply inside. I like to think of this like you start having movement shadows, areas of shade. So these areas are constantly in shade, and they become sort of passengers. They get carried around. They're not experiencing the same sort of forces and movement as they were when we were younger and everything was much more open. So what we're trying to do is bring light into all those areas, breaking up the blockages. We don't have any part of the body that's just a passenger. So we know that exercise is a proven anti-aging pill, and we know that Taoist Tai Chi is a really effective exercise. We're beginning to understand some of the mechanisms for this effect. A few years ago, we had a T-shirt that said, "Renovate your body." And so I hope you can see that what we're really trying to do is renovate the body from a cellular level. Thank you.